Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today we're diving into the financial report of Broadway Financial Corporation, a company that sounds like it should be on a stage but is actually trying to build better communities. Let's see if their performance deserves a standing ovation or just polite applause. If you appreciate getting straight insights from corporate filings, make sure you're subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below. Come hang out with other Wall Street Decoder enthusiasts. First off, Broadway Financial Corporation is getting ready to hold its annual meeting in June. Stockholders, which are the people who own a piece of the company, will get to vote on important stuff, like picking 3 people for the board of directors. The board is basically the boss of the company. It's also time to decide on the company's accounting firm and executive pay, which is how much the top people get paid. If you want to vote, you need to be a stockholder by May 13. Each share of voting common stock, which is a type of stock, gets 1 vote. This report explains everything you need to know before making those decisions. Now let's talk about who owns the most of Broadway Financial. City First Enterprises owns about 14% of the voting stock. The City First Bank's Employee Stock Ownership Trust, which is like a retirement plan for employees, owns almost 10%. This means employees have a significant stake in how the company does, and when the employees have skin in the game, it's always a good thing. As for the top dogs, Brian Argrat, the president and CEO, owns a little over 1.5% of the voting stock. It's good that the CEO is invested in the company's success. Time to meet the nominees for the board of directors. Robert Davidson Jr., John Driver, and Dutch Ross III are up for election. Davidson, who's been on the board since 2003, used to run a paint company, showing he knows how to build a business. Driver is a CEO himself and an expert in corporate governance, basically how the company should be run. This shows that the business has expertise. And Ross, who joined in 2016, used to head a non-profit focused on economic development, meaning he understands how to help communities. He also has financial expertise. The report says that most of the board members are independent, meaning they don't have close ties to the company's management, and this is a good thing. This helps make sure they're making decisions in the best interest of the stockholders, not just the company's executives. The board also keeps an eye on risk, which are things that could hurt the company, like bad loans or changes in the law. They've got committees that focus on different types of risks, and that's great news. It means the business is careful and cautious. Now for the part everyone cares about, executive pay. Here's a quick rundown. CEO Brian Argrat made about $908,000 in 2024. Zachariah Ibrahim, the chief financial officer, pulled in around $451,000. Ruth McLeod, the former chief operating officer, made about $373,000. It's important to keep in mind that made doesn't just mean salary. It includes things like stock and bonuses. A portion of their pay is tied to how well the company does. It's not just about getting a pat on the back, but an actual award. Executives also have stock in the company, which motivates them to make sure the company is successful. The competitor is successfully compensation table and the pay versus performance. Usually this means that they were granted at the beginning of the year, but only vested received at the end. Now we get to the interesting part, how executive pay stacks up against the company's performance. It's a good thing that companies are being held accountable instead of rewarding failure. Argrat's compensation was around $908,000, while, according to the numbers, it was closer to $910,000 if taking into account how shares he owns are doing. The other top executives averaged around $412,000, which, if you account for their shares and bonuses, goes closer to $530,000. How did the business do? An initial investment of $100 would now be worth $37, but net income, the actual profit, was $1,926,000. That's a steep drop from the previous year. In 2023, an initial investment of $100 would also be worth $37, but profits or net income was whooping $4,514,000. It's interesting that in 2022, an initial investment of $100 would now be worth $44, while net income was $5,636,000. This suggests a few possibilities. Executive pay might not be perfectly aligned with a specific metric of net income. Another reason is that the company is focusing on other things beside profitability, such as growth or reducing risk. Remember that total shareholder stock and does not show any dividends paid to the shareholders. What about the board of directors, those people who oversee the whole shebang? They get paid too. Each outside director gets a quarterly fee and some stock, adding up to around $60,000 independent director, which is the top ranking person, gets a bit more. There has been a change of accountants. The board wants you to approve hiring Crowe LE as the company's accounting firm. They used to use Moss Adams, but now they're switching things up. There were no disagreements with Moss Adams about their accounting, so this seems like a routine change. There's also a vote to change the company's rules about removing a director, a person on the board. Currently, the rules spell out exactly what counts as cause for kicking a director off the board, like committing a felony. The board wants to remove that specific definition and instead rely on what the law generally says cause means, which gives them more flexibility. Finally, Broadway Financial Corporation is a public benefit corporation, which means it has a mission to help communities. They focus on lending to low and moderate income areas. The company measures success by maintaining its B Corp certification and reporting on its lending activities. In the most recent period, Broadway Financial says it exceeded its lending targets to these communities. Pavda now, my take on Broadway Financial. Financially, profits are down sharply. Management might argue their pay is justified by strategic shifts or intangible growth, but it does not look good. They are switching accountants, which could mean that management is trying to find someone more favourable. The vote to change the removal policy is something that happens in most businesses, and it is not that worrying. It allows more flexibility to the board. The board has a lot of financial knowledge, which is reassuring, but some new blood may be useful. Overall, the financials need to improve. They need a shake-up and to be more profitable. Alright, that's our breakdown of Broadway Financial's latest filing. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.